Hi, I'm Liam Carmody from Life Science Connect, here on behalf of our publication, Clinical Leader. Today I'm joined at DIA Global Forum with Rebecca Vermeulen, and I'm super excited to talk about patient-focused drug development and her experience there. Rebecca, thanks again, and I'd love to just open up with what it is you do and how you kind of got there in the industry.
Thank you very much. I am so delighted and happy to be a part of this conversation. So as you said, my name is Rebecca Vermeulen, and I lead our patient partnership team at Roche Pharmaceuticals as a global organization that is fully dedicated to partnering with patient communities across all of the disease areas that we support. We ensure that the patient perspective is brought into our company as we're making decisions about our treatments and solutions. And so that's what I do, leading the patient partnership team.
Gotcha. And I think you're also involved with the Patient-Focused Medicines Development Organization. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
I am. I've been very committed to the Patient-Focused Medicines Development. PFMD is the organization. PFMD as a collaborative partner for us as a nonprofit organization that brings together all constituents that are contributing to improving patient and patient care. So across industry, across regulators, patient communities, nonprofit patient groups, and civil society, where we can engage in really meaningful dialogue and talk about where are the opportunities that we can further extend patient engagement and ultimately be able to impact patient care for patients locally where they live to overcome some of the systems and barriers that they experience in getting access to the treatments that they should have.
Right.
We've been a committed partner with the organization for about 9 years now, which is very aligned to our goals as a team in integrating that patient perspective into our company in a very systematic way, from early development all the way through to ensuring access and utilization of treatments.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm excited to go into kind of the specifics of how you're getting the patient involved from the early development into the application of these treatments. But kind of my first curiosity is VP of Global Patient Networks isn't a title that you maybe see in a lot of places. So, how did you work yourself into that role, or how did that role become available within Roche?
So it's been a journey, I would say, and the most important word that you said is a network, and I'll come back to that in describing what does a global patient network look like within our company. But to start, I'm a pharmacist by background, and I've been in the industry for over 30 years, always in the space of how can we further extend information and education to improve patient lives. So as a pharmacist and who I am, I have always been committed to how can I help support people make good decisions about their health.
Right.
And within the industry, I've been incredibly fortunate to be in a variety of roles that have focused on how do we extend that connection and that outreach to healthcare professionals, to patients, and all of the people who are surrounding patient care, to inform, educate, and truly work on solutions that will help improve their lives. As I mentioned, the patient partnership team, the Global Patient Partnership team, was a team that we created 10 years ago, so we will be celebrating our 10-year anniversary as a company. I had an opportunity to start building that team when I transitioned into global medical affairs as a part of our company. And as a part of that, me and one other individual recognizing the importance of the patient perspective and the patient voice and needing to bring that patient voice into our drug development. And so residing as an organization within product development, we established the team, and we've slowly over time been building and continuing to grow our influence and our impact to make sure that as we're designing new science, that we're doing that in a very thoughtful way. So new science, making a connection in what does that really mean for patients, and how do we think about unmet need, and is the patient perspective a part of those decisions, and ultimately determining what we will advance as a company. And all the way, as I said, from very beginning, all the way through to ensuring we're partnering with patient communities, generating the right evidence so that they can get access and be able to utilize those treatments.
Okay. And so going back 10 years and getting Roche to kind of build out this team and have you, chair it, sit on it, what was the value prop that got them really excited about creating a new function, a new team for this? Pharma's been working, creating new drugs, delivering drugs to patients for quite a while. This is a relatively new feature. So what is it that stood out to them and stood out to you that made you want to join this team and promote this philosophy within Roche?
It's, I think, part of the recognition for us as a company, and as a company that is extremely dedicated to putting the patients at the center of what we do. So we have always had a mindset that is very oriented around patients and doing what's right for patients. Having said this and recognizing it, it's one thing to be and demonstrate your commitment to patients, but in order to ensure that you're truly developing the right solutions and having a positive impact in their lives, you have to be able to co-create that with patients. And so the recognition for us was, wow, we are such a patient-focused company, and yet we don't have patients at the table with us as we're talking about care gaps and how we can best improve treatments and standards of care. And the only way that you can truly bring something of value is to do that with people who are a part of that process. And so that was the initiation all that time ago to say, wow, if we're really truly committed to this, we need to engage patients as a part of our discussions and truly bring them to the table with us to ensure we understand a patient need and not assuming we know. Because you can't assume you know what somebody needs until you've lived in their shoes and understand where their lives are, what's important to them. And so that's the work that we've been doing to really try to influence the decisions that we're making as a company.
Right, it seems so promising and yet in a way so simple to really be including the patients more so in that conversation. And that was kind of one of my questions is, it seems almost like a general business sense to really know your customer and involve them in product development, whether it's pharmaceuticals or not. And maybe in your experience in the industry, what were the barriers or why did you feel that pharma maybe lacked the co-creating initiative in developing drugs with patients? Was it that assumption piece that you mentioned? Where was the gap between where you were and where you are now?
Yeah, I smile with you. Any good product design with truly human-centered design principles brings the people who you are designing that solution for to the table. And yet, our journey of understanding and appreciating that we were not there at that time to truly integrate and understand people's lived experience. Patients are people with lived experience, that design element of any kind of solution is so important. And I would say barriers for us, because it has been a journey. It wasn't something that just overnight you flip a switch and you say, oh, look, now we're bringing patient perspectives to the table and we're making much better decisions. Ultimately, as science and a company that is dedicated to good science, it is the principle by which we have established ourselves as a company. And so when you see new exciting science and you see the opportunity for new science to impact a disease through whatever mechanism that new molecular entity is solving for, you get really excited about that. And you look at it through the lens of, oh, this new scientific discovery can impact this disease in this way. Wonderful scientists, wonderful physicians and clinicians all around the table who, in their own way, do have experience working with people and patients, but you can't assume you know, right? So the biggest opportunity that we've had through the years is shifting that mindset. You can put all the processes you want in place to bring a patient and understanding when you need to bring a patient and how we partner with them and how we work with them. But we all know it's the mindset that have to shift. And as people have gotten more experience, truly gleaning insights from patients and recognizing, aha, oh, this is what's most important. This is how we can make a most significant difference. that's when the light bulbs go off, and we slowly have been able to advance and integrate that patient perspective more into what we do. But it's a mindset shift, and it's human nature, right? It's just who we are.
And would you say that mindset shift has been kind of your main maybe challenge or burden in getting this initiative rolled out through all of Roche, or in your position at Roche?
I think it's the recognition, of that shift that has to happen, and also I think the perspective of, as I talked about the processes, we can put all the processes in place for how we integrate patients into what we do. I mean, understand that as a company, we are also working very hard to bring new treatments to market, and so you want to do that as fast as possible, right? Here's a new treatment, here's a new science. Wow, we really need to work fast and efficiently so that we can bring this new treatment to that. And so there's also been, I think, a bit of myth and some myth busting that we've had to do to say, oh, if I bring a patient to the table, is that going to slow me down? Is that going to slow down drug development and our processes integrated with that? And so we've also worked very closely with teams, because the earlier you can engage, the earlier you start that conversation with patients and understanding that need, then it gets integrated in, and it gets integrated in a more seamless way all through your development cycles, from the time that you are entering into a human in very early research, pulling that then through your clinical development plans and your protocols, and through to the evidence that you're generating as a part of the program. So the myth and the myth-busting has been, if you do this well and right and you engage us early, we're not going to slow you down. And we're going to ensure that the solution that we ultimately bring in the new treatment is going to have as much value for patients as possible.
Right. And so, you mentioned just there, trying to bring your patient perspective into the process as early as possible. What does that look like in practice? If we look at maybe just one of the molecules or drugs that you've worked on, how has your team worked to bring these patient voices into the various aspects as a drug is going through that development process?
I am so incredibly proud of my team, and I mean that in a very sincere way. Because as a team, we have individuals who are patient partnership leaders, who are dedicated within their disease areas. They are well vested in understanding the disease. They serve as single point of contact, working with the patient communities, so they have very deep and lasting relationships with patients and our patient groups. And through that relationship and that dialogue, as they establish relationships with our teams internally, within the clinical development teams and others who are working to bring these treatment solutions together, they bring that patient as a partner early into. So as I said, we start getting involved very, very early at the time we consider going into human, to understand the patient perspective into that disease, even in a light way, to make sure that as we go, what is most important for the disease overall. And then as you look at particular products and particular solutions, as we're making decisions about what treatment solution would be best, what's most important, then integrating that patient as a part of that conversation. So we do that in a number of ways. We have patient councils where we bring very diverse groups of people together globally with different experiences and different views that get integrated as a part of our clinical development programs, and reviewing our protocols and giving input as a part of that process. Getting regular input and touch points in different ways. So whether it's, as I said, informal patient councils, one-off exchanges that we do with particular individual patients if they have a perspective or something that's unique that we need to really make sure we understand. And then partnering with the patient communities, as I've said as well, because the patient communities can really come to the table and represent a holistic view of what's important for their communities overall. So really working with them as a part of their community advisory boards as well, and making sure we're giving regular input.
Gotcha. And now, does that change at all as you get towards later stages of development? Once you already have your protocol and the idea of where you might be trying to apply your therapy, do things change? And in phase 2, phase 3, and even post-market, are you still keeping in touch with these patients and trying to maybe alter your trajectory and then how you help them?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that the engagement stays, if not increases, as we move through the drug development and as we're getting to the later phases, and really looking at the product and the treatment that we're going to bring through our regulatory processes and into the market. That collaboration becomes stronger because you want to make sure you understand how patients and their experience will be utilizing that treatment in their daily lives and those experiences. And how do we ensure that as we're bringing new treatments and solutions onto the market, that patients understand how to utilize it. Information and education, as I said, is so incredibly important, and to be informed so that they become partners in actually making decisions with their healthcare professionals and others who are supporting their treatment decisions, so that they have a voice at the table. We also partner very closely with patient groups in generating evidence to make sure their patient experience is a part of our evidence generation. Good quality patient experience data has to happen with patient engagement. So patient engagement, understanding what evidence is going to be important for HTA bodies, for governments, who are other entities that are actually investing in treatments so that they are available and that patients can access them. We're working very closely with the patient communities as well to ensure that that evidence generation is happening in a way that they can then have a conversation and be able to share the importance and the relevance of that innovation and that new science and why that is important to them as a community.
Yeah, interesting. I was going to ask, as you maintain and try to foster these close relationships with patients, and then therefore understands, how they're using a therapy or how it can really affect them in their day-to-day, does that, provide any kind of synergy or benefits as you then take these drugs, commercially, and you're able to put them out to your commercial teams in already knowing, having these connections with these patient networks, connections with providers and stuff like that? Is that a big piece of the value?
It's a big piece of it, and I think, again, partnering with patients early on in our development programs, you get to understand the experience that patients are having as a part of our clinical trials, and their experience in just utilization of those treatments, what's working, what we will need to address, and hearing from their views as we're approaching that launch phase. Because understanding patient benefit and what true patient benefit means, for us, you have to be able to look at that as a whole. And sometimes, the issue or barrier for a patient being able to utilize a treatment is the health system that they're a part of, right? Because the health system may not have the capability. There might be a social stigma around the disease that needs to be addressed in order for them to be able to engage in a conversation with a healthcare professional or others. So working with patients to understand holistic care and, their lived experience with their disease, we then can make sure that we are a part of helping to pave a way for them to be able to access treatment, whether that's our treatment or others, right? It's how do we partner with patient communities so they can amplify their voice and have the data information needed to be able to support improving care, right? What that really looks like for them.
Do you have any specific examples, therapeutic areas or maybe certain indications where you feel that your team has kind of really made an impact on how Roche has approached drug development?
There's been many areas where we've had a very positive and significant impact. It's hard to pick one. If I had to pick one particular area, I would say, the work that we've done partnering with the rare disease community, because in rare disease, patients are a very integral part of any solution or treatment that we would develop. And partnering with the SMA community is a great example of that. Bringing the patient perspective very early into our development program really helped us shape our research and the way in which we conducted research and protocols. One, to ensure that our protocol development was implementable, right? That, if that's a word, right, that we could partner with not only the patients but their caregivers, right, and ensuring that our schedule of events and what was expected, right, that they actually could contribute and be a part of a study, because that's important in their lives. They were also incredibly helpful in helping us shape endpoints that really matter beyond the clinical endpoints of how a disease progresses, but understanding endpoints that are very patient-centered. Again, patient experience and engaging patients as a part of patient experience data. We were able to have those conversations early on and create new endpoints that demonstrate beyond the clinical measures what's really important for patient communities. So in this case, patients being able to sit in this disease that's extremely impactful on babies and their ability to move, right, and move around, that we were able to generate endpoints that showed increased muscle reaction. So babies could begin sitting up as a part of the treatment and standard. Those endpoints were then integrated as a part of the registration package and actually become a part of a product label, so that you can demonstrate this treatment and the impact that it can have. Again, not only on the disease, which is wonderful in the disease progression, but the most significant for caregivers as well, in being able to measure and mark the progress that's being made in daily lives. And as a parent, with a child in this community, incredibly important. And then I would say, as a final indicator, working again with the patient community, we were able to ensure that all newborn screening, as newborns are born, that they're screened for the disease. So we know very, very early when a baby is diagnosed, so that the health care team around the baby can think about what is the right treatment solution for them very early on in supporting their disease and the delay of progression of that disease.
Right. Wow, that is meaningful. Thank you for sharing that. And then, thank you again for kind of running through your experience with Roche. And I'm curious, outside of Roche, you've made a lot of strides in the last 10 years within your team. What are the, opportunities or areas you see room for improvement, outside of just sponsors, with the rest of the industry and bringing in the patient voice from sites, CROs, agencies, and in your involvement with patient-focused medicines development? Where do you see room for the industry as a whole to maybe make some more strides towards listening to the patient?
I would say we have a lot of partners who come around the table with us who are ensuring the patient perspective is brought to the table. And those are very important conversations for us to have, because it takes a village, right? If you're truly dedicated to improving outcomes for patients in their disease and improving care standards, that's more than what I as a single company could do. As I said, there's many factors that have to be taken into consideration when we talk about improving health systems, governments willing to invest in health, partners and communities that need to come around and helping to generate the evidence that shows the impact of progression of disease and the opportunity for treatments. So PFMD is an organization, as I said, that brings all constituents together with a very dedicated focus of how can we collaborate in open and meaningful ways to truly impact as a system, the system as a whole, because it takes all of us coming together to be able to do that. Beyond what I and my amazing team can do as a company, if you really want to improve care within a disease level and where patients live as a part of their communities, you have to be a willing partner and collaborator. And so PFMD is a wonderful organization that has supported our ability to do that. And there are many other organizations, the International Alliance for Patient Organizations, the European Patient Foundation, just this week in discussions about Africa and the African Clinical Trial Network, many partners who can come to the table and discuss true collaboration and willingness to come together where collective solutions can grow and develop and be scaled in a meaningful way.
Well, I'm very excited to see how all of those organizations can work together to kind of incorporate that patient voice, and you're doing your part at Roche. So thank you again for sharing that wisdom, that insight, and I think that's a good place to wrap up. So thank you again. I'm here with Rebecca Vermeulen at TIA Global Forum 2025. My name is Liam, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for this time and this amazing opportunity. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.